The Man from Toronto, our newest action comedy film by Netflix, starring Kevin Hart and Woody Harrelson. But is it funny? I'm going to let you know. So we're in this case of mistaken identity. Kevin Hart's taking his girlfriend out for a lovely weekend and they're looking at starting a family, but obviously he's comical with errors, and I really like how they build up his sort of comedy of errors, like it continually goes on. But Kevin Hart does play Kevin Hart, so if you've seen any of Kevin Hart's films, you know what you're in for. You know his comedy, out of water kind of comedy, and this is no exception. Like, he is definitely a fish out of water in this film. But it doesn't print properly and he mistakes where he needs to go, so the address is printed wrong, and this is where it all kicks off, and we get to obviously see Kevin Hart become his fish out of water. So he's mistaken by these group of criminals and he becomes the Man from Toronto. So essentially they're doing a little bit of a Freaky Friday, but they're not body swapping, they're just swapping roles. So Kevin Hart becomes the Man from Toronto, and obviously Woody Harrelson is the Man from Toronto. But then it's their escapades throughout. Harrelson plays the assassin and he plays that to perfection. So yeah, I really like Woody Harrelson, and I like how he's able to switch in between different roles. This felt like the guy from Zombieland. His actual portrayal throughout, like, it was much darker and gritty, and he actually felt like an assassin. Like, the first time he walks in and he's like dropping his knife bag and giving the back origin story, and I like how they continued on with his origin story. So everyone who knew, like, the Man from Toronto, they were like, yep, this is the guy, etc. Where that was the backstory that sort of delved fear into everybody. There was so many good things about this film. Like, it was a fun ride. They stayed in that action comedy trope and they just kept going. Like, Kevin Hart and Woody Harrelson, they did have good banter between each other. There were moments that Kevin Hart sort of forced the comedy where they sort of kept it going for too long, where it just became really awkward, and it does provide you that awkward laugh, but rather than that back and forth that they have, like that real-time comedy between them. So I would like to see a buddy cop of those two, like, team up and have that sort of dynamic and just sort of let them free roam in terms of delivering their comic lines, and that would be really cool. Both of them stay in their role and they perform their role really well. Like, Kevin Hart delivers his comedic lines, like, he plays Kevin Hart through and through. Like, this is probably his greatest performance in terms of his Kevin Hart comedy. And Woody Harrelson, he does awesome as well. But there are times where this movie just doesn't do overly well. So it feels like they didn't spend much of the budget on the special effects. Like, there's quite a few times where the special effects are a little bit janky. It doesn't take you out of the film, but there's definitely moments where I was like, ooh, they need to sort of fix that up and just, you know, have a little bit better technology, or don't show as much of the special effects and storylines going on. So obviously there was Hart with his mistaken identity, and Woody sort of, you know, sorting it out and trying to be able to sell Kevin as the Man from Toronto, where he goes into these situations where he does not portray like the confident man that the Man of Toronto would be in these, like, interrogation situations, but everyone else believes that he's the man, which is really hard to believe considering these are probably like the grimy underworld kind of guys that you sort of think would, you know, be able to pick someone who has no idea what they're doing. But like, it did build some fun sort of comedy aspects and some action scenes. I really did like the action scenes. Like, they filmed really well. Like, a lot of it is different camera angles, but it does feel like one take. Like, it's really cool how to see their action sort of portrayed, and the ending fight scene is awesome. Like, it's sort of brings that level of the film up just due to how cool that last scene is. But the second, like, subplot line where it's Kevin and his wife is being taken out by these FBI agents and sort of wined and dined, where, like, the interaction between Hart and his wife, like, she should probably start questioning about what's going on, because there's times where it just doesn't add up and she's like, you know, just oblivious to everything, where they probably didn't need that storyline, but it did sort of tie in at the end, where it didn't, overall, it didn't take it away, but it did sort of, like, feel slightly placed considering everything else that was going on and the high level of stakes that he was in, and she was just off, you know, living day-to-day life, where it would have just been fun ride to see Hart and Woody sort of fix the mix of the stolen identity. Other agents, the code names are kind of cheesy, but it sort of does work into it, and that's what the comedy is sort of coming into. But overall, I did really enjoy the film. I do like action comedies. Like, if Netflix brings these out, I will watch them. I do like them. Where I'd like to see Hart and Woody sort of do that buddy cop film, that would be cool to see. Safe in its genre. It doesn't really go out of the action comedy, and it doesn't really try and push any messages. It's just a fun ride throughout. Like, you're looking for Kevin Hart just to drop awkward comedy, drop his lines, do his thing. It's really good. Woody plays the assassin great, and like, if you've seen any other of his films, like, you know what you're in for. It's just a fun ride. Don't go into it expecting anything else, and it gives you what you want. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. Let me know if you want like a rating system from now on. I can actually start giving you a rating rather than just recommendations. But yeah, drop it in the comments and you know what to do. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends.